Call to order the meeting of the Common Council for Tuesday, October 5th, 2021. Clerk?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 10 present and voting.
All right, we have a quorum and we will proceed. Just for the record, Alder Lefebvre is present here, trying to log into Civic Clerk, but she is present. We are expecting Alder Corpus Dax to arrive a bit late to the meeting.
Okay, I will mark Alder Lefebvre present and voting, and we'll go ahead. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation led by Alder Lefebvre. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alder Lefebvre.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was very rushed today. So what I want everyone to do, please, I want everyone to take a moment to clear your minds, take a deep breath, let it out. Let's just relax. Let's all this negativity gone. We have too much of it in our community. We need to come together. So let's just take a moment of peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the September 21, 2021 council meeting. The motion was made to approve by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Weary. Any corrections need to be made there? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Those minutes are approved. Approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Alder Scannell makes a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. That was seconded by Alder Stevens. Any changes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. On to report by the mayor. I'm sorry, we do, yes, report by the mayor. So just a couple things here to note. One thing on the agenda, one off. We do have a couple of our town hall discussions coming up, both on the city's budget and on the American Rescue Plan Act plan that we'll be putting forward. So those dates, I believe, should have gone out on social media earlier today. I just wanted to note, though, that we will have one on the east side, one on the west side for both in-person attendance and online attendance. The first one's at NWTC on the 21st of October, beginning at 5:30. And the next meeting is on the east side at UWGB, October 26th, also beginning at 5:30. We will be, as I said, disseminating information online. Those events very well could be live on Facebook as we speak. Just to let alders know, we've been getting a lot of participation through the survey. So I think we're north of 600 respondents thus far. So thanks to all of you and others who have been circulating that survey. Getting a lot of feedback both on the kind of the designated questions, but also the open-ended question at the end, getting a lot of good response there. So please continue to spread the word on that, trying to spread that as far and as wide as possible and get robust response from the community. So glad with what we've seen thus far. And then also just wanted to make a quick comment on redistricting. We have some maps in front of us for our council districts to entertain and debate and decide upon. Really want to recognize Clerk Jeffries and Director Hronik for all the work that they've put in a really short time span as a result of the lateness of the data coming to the local level from the census and the county deciding on their maps. We haven't had a lot of time for that work to be done, but I think especially given the short time window, they've done excellent work. And so looking forward to that discussion tonight, just so citizens are aware of my position in terms of the number of alders we have in the city. I know it absolutely is a heavy load for you all to carry, but I do think 12 members is the appropriate number. We experienced some good growth for a large municipality in this last census, but I think it is manageable for all of you. So I am supportive of really either of those maps with 12 members, but just my opinion, I think that's the direction that we should go. So with that, I'll move along to announcements from our council. Alder Scannell.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just one, I just would like everybody to be aware that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So please be aware of that, and if you're in a situation, please know you're not alone. There are resources for you. And if you know of someone who's having difficulties, please try to be a positive force in their life and help them out as much as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alder. Absolutely. Want to also note Golden House as a fantastic provider of shelter for those who are facing those really difficult situations. So thanks for all the work that they do in the community. Alder LaFave.
Yes, also this month is breast cancer awareness. Everyone knows I had breast cancer. I'm 23 years out, going strong. I guess God doesn't really want me. But I just wanted to say that this is the month, and I noticed the buses got the big pink ribbons on the front of them. So thank everyone for acknowledging that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alder LaFave. Alder Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Got kind of a nice event coming up on October 23rd. It's a Saturday at 11 o'clock. The renaming of the Walnut Street Bridge to the Bardstar Memorial Bridge. We'll have a number of folks there. Cherry Starr will be there with her son, as well as Mark Murphy, yourself. I'll be there and a few others. We'll have representatives from the state as well. I think Steffens and Winberger and
Yeah, Representative Shelton as well.
yes, thank you. I was having a little deal there. Okay,
Yeah.
Shelton will be there as well. So that'll be at 11 o'clock at the Cherry Street ramp. So well deserved.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to that celebration, and thanks to you for bringing that idea forward to us and to the state.
Thank you.
Alder Brunette.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just simply want to welcome the members of the public. Normally, I don't do that, although I'm happy whenever any member of the public can attend, but for the last year and a half, we haven't had many people in our chambers, and we spent most of our time at home at Zoom. So it's just very nice to see the public here, keeping an eye on their government, and not sure if they want to speak, but if the time comes, I'd like to make a motion to open the floor. But it's just good to see. And for all those who are at home through Zoom, that is definitely a very good, viable option to view your city government. But I would encourage anyone who wants to participate to come down to City Hall. I don't know if everyone knows that that's available, but the more people, the better, in my opinion. Thank you.
Well said. Thanks, Alder. Any other announcements? Alder Galvin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to mention that this Saturday is going to be a fundraiser for the Bear Creek Preservation Foundation called Run for the Hill of It. It takes place over a 5K course, and for the first time this year, they're going to be having a off-road bike competition. So I encourage anyone that might be interested in this to take a look at their website and sign up and get involved. Thank you.
Great. You going to be there?
Yes,
All right.
not winning anything, but just
Participating.
chugging along.
That's the
Yes.
important thing. Any other announcements?
Mayor,
Oh, Alder Johnson. Sorry about that.
thank you. Mostly just wanted to test this to make sure it worked. But since I've got your ear, I just want to apologize to my colleagues for not being able to be there in person today. I'm actually on a chamber study trip in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Mayor actually joined us on one of these trips to Kansas City pre-pandemic. But the reason I wanted to highlight it, though, is because the Greater Green Bay Chamber is doing a lot of great work with an 11-point strategic plan for our community that really brings together the public sector and our private sector, nonprofits, to really understand, how to accelerate our community. And they're going to be having their annual report or update on those 11 strategic pillars in November. I'd encourage every member of City Council to try to attend that if they're able to, because I think there's a lot of good work that oftentimes happens outside of the public sphere that we're not always privy to, or we don't know about it until we know about it. So again, that's coming up in November. Happy to share details with anyone that wants to learn more about that.
Great. Thanks, Alder. Be sure to bring back some good information for us and say hello to Mayor Kelly for me. Any other announcements? Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one's very important. I wanted to wish good luck to our Milwaukee Brewers. That one's of utmost importance. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry Sorry for those mic problems. All right, I don't think we have any other announcements from council, so we will move along to recognitions and awards. So tonight, this is something that we've done in the past, but tonight also wanted to recognize White Cane Safety Day, which is October 15th. So I do have a proclamation that that I would like to read, and then we will hand things off to Bob Jacobson, who is on the line or on the Zoom, hopefully, to join us. I see Bob there, so looking forward to his comments. So here we go. Whereas blindness and severe visual impairment affect approximately 100,000 Wisconsin residents, and whereas the majority of those persons use travel aids such as white cane or a service animal to get around public streets and sidewalks and places of public accommodation, and whereas those travel aids are universally recognized as symbols representing vision loss, and whereas Wisconsin's white cane law requires that motorists come to a full stop before approaching closer than 10 feet to a pedestrian who is using a white cane or service animal, and whereas careful driving and fully stopping when pedestrians are in the crosswalk is beneficial to all residents, including children, elders, and people with disabilities. Now, therefore, I, Eric Enrick, Mayor of the City of Green Bay, do hereby proclaim Friday, October 15th, 2021, as White Cane Safety Day in the City of Green Bay, and acknowledge the importance of pedestrian safety year-round. So really appreciate Bob and his team for bringing this forward to the city, for requesting this recognition, and of course calling on all of our residents to recognize White Cane Safety Day, and more importantly, observe their fellow residents and exercise real caution and respect for their fellow citizens. So with that, I will turn things over to Mr. Jacobson for any comments.
Thank you, Mayor Genrick. I'm Bob Jacobson. I'm the Communications Director at the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired. And on behalf of the council, I'm delighted to accept this proclamation and appreciate your taking the time to recognize the importance of White Cane Safety Day. I would like to just mention very briefly that one of our board members who lives in your part of the state was planning on being here and accepting the proclamation, but she wasn't feeling well, and I was asked to step in. Most of our board members and quite a few of my colleagues at the council are visually impaired. Unlike me, I am not. So I don't have the lived experience of trying to navigate the streets of a busy city on foot and having to trust that the motorists are aware of the white cane law and having to trust that they are going to stop 10 feet from me as required by law. I just want to also emphasize that the great thing about the white cane law is that it not only benefits people who are blind or visually impaired, but it really benefits all pedestrians, because anything that makes motorists more attentive is going to be good for pedestrian safety in general. So it's something that we should all be really happy to be celebrating on October 15th and recognizing. So once again, on behalf of the council, thank you very much for issuing this proclamation and recognizing White Cane Safety Day.
Thank you so much again, Mr. Jacobson, for joining us, and thanks to the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired for all the great work you do. Have a good evening. All right.
Thank you.
And with that, we will move along to our new appointments. We have a motion to approve the new appointments made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Lefebvre. Any discussion of that new appointment? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. On to our reappointments. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin. Discussion here. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those reappointments are confirmed. Ordinance's second reading for adoption. Motion to adopt made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stoyer. Discussion on this item. Seeing none, we will use the board.
Thank you, Mayor. Alders, you may vote. And Alder Stoyer?
Alder Stoyer votes yes.
Thank you.
And that ordinance is adopted 12-0. On to the report of the Improvement and Services Committee, September 29, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none, all in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. Protection and Policy Committee. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. Granting operator licenses. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Vanderleest. Any names to be handled separately or abstentions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that report has been approved. Plan Commission. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stevens, to approve the Plan Commission from September 27, 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? Number 1. Any others? Item 1 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved, with the exception of item 1.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve item 1 made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. The item was pulled by Alder Stoyer. Alder, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to get a little bit of a description here from Director Steck Schulte on this. I just want to make sure that, you know, what is going on here as far as some of the neighbors have called and were a little concerned about what the end result is. So I would like to just get a brief description of what we're looking at with this rezoning.
You bet. Director Steck Schulte.
Yes, Mayor. Alder Storer, this was essentially is a proactive rezoning of parcels simply to match, believe the existing use that is there already. The church facility that is there was currently in the residential zoning. It was simply noted by staff. There's also an additional, this was one of 2 different properties where this was just adjusting to essentially recognize and acknowledge the use that was there. So it was just.
Alder Stoyer?
I don't know, he's locked up. Is that?
Director Steck Schulte, did you have anything further to add? You froze a little bit at the end there.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say this was, simply as one of 2 properties that were simply rezoned at staff's behest to simply match the use that was occurring on those properties. So in this case, the church use was simply identified and being rezoned to from residential to public institution.
Got it.
I thank you for that. I told the neighbors that it was basically a cleanup of the zoning in that area. And I think they were concerned that there might be some other building or some other activity going on there, but I think more or less it's more of a cleanup of the zoning over there.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. We do have a motion to approve and a second. Any further comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That item is approved. To the report of the Finance Committee, September 28th. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf. Any items here to be handled separately? Number 4. Any others? Seeing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 4. Alder Scannell makes a motion to approve item 4. That was seconded by Alder Galvin. The item was pulled by Alder Vanderleest. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like a breakdown of the claims that were addressed on this number 4. In other words, the different claims that have been brought forward, what they are.
It's on the screen.
Alder Vanderleest, is this something you wanted to discuss in closed session, or?
Well, I'd like to know what the claim, if we could just give me the verbiage of what claims were actually settled.
Attorney Chavez, is that something that could be discussed?
I would recommend we go into closed session, and discuss that.
Okay, we can go in closed session.
Okay.
Motion to go into closed session.
You want me to read the words?
Just a point of clarification from Alder Dorf.
Alder, is all that you simply want to do is to see what were the claims and how? Okay, so can we show them how to get that?
Sure.
Okay, because we may not need to go to closed session.
Okay.
I withdraw my motion.
Thank you, Alder. So we do have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That item is approved. On to the Park Committee.
Approved.
Second.
Motion has been made by Alder Scannell. It was seconded by Alder Gerlach to approve the report of the Park Committee from September 29, 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none. All in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. Personnel Committee.
Approved.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin. That's to approve the Personnel Committee report from September 28th, 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none, all in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. TB&P.
It's approved.
Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stevens. That's to approve the report of the Traffic, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Commission for September 20, 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none. All in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and the report has been approved. Receive and place on file.
Motion to receive and place on file the building report for September 2021.
Motion has been made to receive and place on file the building report for September 2021. That was made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stoyer. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been received and placed on file. Now on to Committee of the Whole. We have a couple items here, so we will take them individually. Item number 1 is update with possible action on pending and threatened litigation involving elections, including matters pending before the Wisconsin State Assembly Committee on Elections and Campaigns.
Move to go into closed session.
Second.
Alder Dorf makes a motion to move into closed session. That was seconded by Alder Scannell. Discussion on that motion. Alder Brunette.
Thank you, Mayor. What would come first in the order? Motion to open the floor or to go into closed session? The reason I ask is the public is here. I believe some want to speak based on what they say or suggest to the city council. It might affect our decisions.
Sure. Attorney Chavez?
Those are both main motions, so the first one to be dealt with should be the motion to go into closed session.
Okay. Has that been second?
It has been.
Yeah, if I could speak to
Yeah.
that, Mayor. I am definitely against going into closed session. I don't believe there's any reason why what we discuss needs to be hidden from the public. Been rather consistent when it comes to the election situation that we find ourselves in. We have received information, and I think that information should be made public. That is my opinion. Therefore, I find going into closed session to be extremely inappropriate, and I'll be voting against it. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments? Alder Weary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would concur with Alder Burnett. I would vote against going to closed session, and I would like to listen to the public first, and then we can ascertain if we wanted to go into closed session. But there is information that I think the public would be interested in having that we're only, having access to. So I'm going to vote no, and would like to hear from the public first. Thanks.
Alder Scannell?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I believe we should go into closed session first, and then we can find out just what all is privileged to make sure we're not spilling any beans we shouldn't be spilling, and take care of whatever business needs to be handled confidentially. This does have to do with our attorney in a matter that you just don't have. Imagine a lawyer and a client talking in public about their case. That makes no sense to me. I don't understand where some others are coming from. There's a reason for client-lawyer privilege and confidentiality. So I think it's very wise, it'd be irresponsible not to go into closed session, and certainly some parts may be able to go public with, and that's fine with that, but certainly I believe there could very well be a lot that we should be keeping confidential at this time. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any additional comments on the motion to move into closed session? Alder Dorf?
I would just say, like, I concur with Alder Scannell, and I believe we should go into closed session so that we understand what we're even discussing, and we'd be better able then to listen to what the public has to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Brunette for a second time?
Yes, thank you. Another question for the city attorney, if I may. I think someone else has some feedback.
That was you.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. Thank you. Regarding information that we have been given to us, would a motion to waive the attorney-client privilege so that document that was shared to us could be public knowledge, would that be appropriate? Would that supersede the motion to go into closed session?
Nope, that's still a main motion.
Okay, thank you. Well, very clearly am against going into closed session. I don't see absolutely anything about what was shared to us or what we will be discussing to be something qualifying being hidden from the public, because that's what's happening. We're going into closed session to deliberate on behalf of the city of Green Bay information that should be made available to them, which sadly is not. And we're going to go behind closed doors and discuss something when there's no reason, in my opinion, that we should not be able to deliberate this in public, in front of the public, so that they know the questions that are being asked and the answers being given. I find it highly inappropriate to go into closed session. As you know, I've been very consistent on this, and those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. So we have a motion and a second to move into closed session.
Mayor?
Alder Johnson, go ahead.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question for the city attorney. Since, I mean, the topic's been broached a little bit, is the purpose of closed session language, is that to discuss a specific strategy, or is it simply related to the content that was shared with us prior to the meeting?
It's a little bit of both. Everything that we discussed, so the basis of our discussion is what was provided to you earlier or yesterday. But as far as specifics and what we do with that information, that is definitely something that will be discussed as well.
Okay, and just to clarify as well, because I seem to recall, you know, we've had these conversations before in the past that once, hypothetically, if the council were to vote no to go into closed session, we do have this entire conversation open session. Does that waive our, I guess, our ability to have future conversations about this in closed session?
It is always a fact-specific evaluation, but generally, once you waive privilege, you've waived privilege.
Okay, I appreciate that insight. You know, I will say that initially when I saw, you know, the email, that was content that I'll admit that I feel like can be discussion open session, but I am going to support closed session language because if there is additional strategy that the city wishes to discuss, I guess I'm not comfortable putting us in a position right now to waive that privilege. And I do feel that depending on how the conversation goes in closed session, I would feel more confident in sharing, you know, that information that's appropriate for the public at that time.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments on that motion? All right, seeing none. Alder Dorf, will you read the language, or do you have?
Yes, I will. The council may convene in closed session pursuant to Section 19.851G Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. The council will thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to Section 19.852 Wisconsin statutes to take action on items discussed in closed session, if appropriate, and to consider the remainder of the agenda.
Thank you, Alder. We will now use the board on that motion.
Thank you, Alders. You may vote.
Alder Lefebvre, do you want to vote verbally? Alder Lefebvre votes aye.
Thank you. And then Alder Stoyer.
Should be coming through now, he says.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Oh. Oh, so sorry. Give me one more moment.
And that motion succeeds 8-4, so we will be moving into closed session. Call the council back to order and entertain a motion to return to open session. You'll be on Zoom. Motion has been made to return to open session by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Gerlach. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are back in open session. Alder Dorf.
A vote was taken in closed session to retain Law Forward in partnership with States United and Stafford Rosenbaum, and we will now confirm the vote in open session. So I move that we confirm the vote that we took in closed session.
Motion has been made by Alder Dorf. Seconded by Alder Scannell. On that motion, Alder Brunette.
Motion to open the floor to hear from interested parties, please.
Motion has been made to open the floor by Alder Brunette, seconded by Alder Weary. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is open, so if anyone is interested in speaking to the council, just step forward, state your name and address.
Point of clarification, it's still Tuesday, right? Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Gableman. I'm a former state Supreme Court justice here in Wisconsin. Mr. Mayor, I actually do have a point of order, and that is to ask, did Madam Alder recite a conclusion about Stafford Rosenbaum or a different law firm? Was there some kind of motion or resolution she was talking about? I didn't hear it.
Yes, a motion was made to retain Law Forward, Stafford Rosenbaum and States United.
Would you?
I said a motion was made, Alder.
Ah, thank you. And Alder Lefebvre, you made a wonderful opening comment about how we are all in this together and how all of the stress and tension really should be let out because we are all citizens. We are all together. And one of the reasons I'm here is to tell you about the investigation that I've been appointed to lead. On August 30 of this year, so about 35 days ago, the Office of Special Counsel was created by the legislature. And I've been spending the last 35 days or so putting that office together, building a team. It's so important to remember that the mission that has been assigned to me to the Office of Special Counsel by the legislature is not a prosecution. It's not a criminal proceeding. I heard someone who spoke in favor of going into closed session make a remark about, well...
Point of order, sorry. The people on Zoom cannot hear.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
You know,
Alder Dorf.
both of my paternal grandparents were deaf and mute factory workers at Allen Bradley during the Depression, and so I have a very special sensitivity about hearing, and having recently acquired a pair of hearing aids myself, I can certainly be sympathetic towards that. And when I was the judge in Burnett County, I made sure we had assistive hearing devices so that everyone could participate in court on an equal basis.
Additional point of order, I don't think that's not the problem. They can't.
Just need to be near the mic.
They
I-
can't.
I don't know what you want me to do.
They can't hear you using the mic, so.
Okay,
Proceed.
well, I want to find out if we still have the same point of order. Am I on?
I don't know, I'm gonna ask them. So
All right.
you need to speak.
Okay.
So in any event,
Okay.
when I was appointed judge of Burnett County, I had never been to Burnett County before, but I had to run in 6 months' time for election to keep my job. So one of the first things I did when I was appointed,
Excuse me.
Sorry.
This is the clerk. Mayor,
Yes, Clerk Jeffries.
I'm so sorry. I do not know who's talking, and I didn't hear you go back into regular session, so I don't have that vote recorded. So
Can
can
you-
we kind of roll back the...
Yeah, can you hear us now?
I can, but I did not hear you before, so I don't have a motion to return to regular order, and I do not know who's speaking, and I do not have a clock.
Yep. So we did, we had a motion to return to regular order. That was made by Alder Dorf, and it was seconded by Alder Scannell.
Okay?
And then Alder Dorf made the motion. Yeah, we'll have Alder Dorf restate the motion.
Thank you.
The vote was taken in closed session to retain law forward in partnership with States United and Stafford Rosenbaum, and we will now confirm the vote in open session. I made a motion to do so, seconded by
Alder Scannell.
Alder Scannell.
Okay.
And then we went into, then Alder Burnett made a motion to open the floor, seconded by Alder Weary.
Okay.
And then
Burnett and Weary
we
to open the floor.
voted,
Okay, thank
and
you.
we're in open session.
Yeah, so Michael
We're in
Gableman
open
is
floor.
addressing the council. I don't know if we got your address.
Yeah, he needs his address.
I live in New Berlin, Wisconsin.
Your street address.
Can I give a P.O. box?
Well, you're supposed to give your street address, but whatever you want to give.
P.O. Box 510145, New Berlin, Wisconsin 53151.
53151. Thank you.
Are we doing 5 minutes?
Thank you.
Mayor?
Continue.
As I was saying, I had never been to Burnett County before I was appointed. And so one of the first things I did was to make appointments and arrangements to visit with every town board, every village board, every council member to introduce myself. And I would attend their meetings to make myself become familiar with the local concerns and the issues that were on the minds of the people I was privileged to serve. I also took that opportunity to describe with as much precision as I could what my plans and hopes were for my tenure, whether it was going to be 1 year or actually 11 months if I didn't win election, or whether it was going to be for the next 6 years. And happily, I squeaked by that election with 78% of the vote, so I guess they liked what they heard. I'm here for many of the same reasons that I would go to the city leaders and municipal leaders in Burnett County and every county that I've been privileged to serve, and that is to tell you what I'm doing and what I plan on doing. Now, given the timing and the nature of closed session, we never want to assume anything, but I think there are fair inferences to be made that you, especially with the agenda item, Mr. Mayor, you might have been talking about the fact that I had subpoenas served on you and your office today, and I don't know if everybody else knows that, and that I am looking for factual information. The purpose of this investigation is not a prosecution. It is not even litigation. So that's why it was a little bit like fingernails on a chalkboard when I heard someone say, well, when they wanted to close the session, well, parties to litigation never have discussions with their lawyer in front of opposing parties. And I really want to stress, and this gets me to the very nice opening comments of the Alder, this is not an adversarial process. We are all citizens of the same country. We are all citizens of the same state. We all want open, transparent, honest, and fair elections for which the administrators are accountable. In a democracy, I believe that the appearance of fairness and honesty is just as important, if not more important, than the fact of that honesty and transparency. This is so because democracy is not a thing. It is not an object. It's an idea. And this country with its noble past, the best country, I believe, in the history of the world, is still very much an experiment for the world to be watching, to see whether we can make democracy work. And if people lose confidence in the honesty of the system by which they are to elect their leaders, that way lies tyranny and the end of the American experiment in democracy. The purpose of this investigation is to determine what was supposed to happen in the November 2020 election and compare that to what actually did happen, to see what went well and to see what might be improved upon. One of the more vocal criticisms from some quarters is that this investigation is an effort to somehow restore former President Trump to the White House. If that's the program, nobody has shared it with me, nor would I have accepted this job if that was the condition. As many of you, I hope, know, our state has a one-word official state motto, and that word is forward. Forward. And I have adopted that as the unofficial motto of the special counsel's office. We are looking forward. We are looking to make sure that people have confidence in their officials who administer the election so that they can have confidence in the outcomes of those elections. This investigation will be guided by a search for the truth and not by political priorities or timetables. Some evidence has been produced previously that shows some election officials acted unilaterally in deciding not to follow established state law. We will request from these officials and others with potential knowledge of unlawful actions and will compel them, if necessary, to produce documents and testimony that will allow the public to gain a comprehensive understanding of how their elections were managed, and to underscore the fact that no matter what your political persuasion, whether you are the furthest left, or whether you are moderate, or whether you are conservative, everyone, each of us as a citizen, has an interest in having fair and open and honest elections for which the government officials who administrated them and any private entities that that were allowed to participate in the administration are accountable.
So I've given you a tremendous amount of leeway. You're at over 5.5 minutes. Customarily, it's 3 minutes for public testimony.
I did not know that ahead of time,
No, I
Mr. Mayor.
apologize.
Accepted. So, to wind up, because I can take a hint, although, to be fair, we did wait a fair amount of time for you.
I appreciate that.
I bet. This is not an election contest. We are not relitigating the 2020 election. To underscore the non-adversarial nature of this proceeding, the Wisconsin legislature, in exercising its constitutional right and its constitutional obligation to oversee the implementation of its laws is exercising only its constitutional obligation to oversee the implementation of those laws. Anyone who is compelled to provide information as a result of my subpoenas enjoys the immunity which is set forth in Chapter 13 of the Wisconsin statutes. I will note today that the city clerk of Madison contacted me to ask how we could best work together to accomplish, as the same subpoenas were served in Madison as were served in Green Bay. He contacted me to find out how he could most quickly and efficiently cooperate with my office and comply with those subpoenas. And I will be returning his call tomorrow to work together for that end. Investigations must remain open to receiving information from all sources.
All right, do we have questions for our guest?
Oh, okay. I guess I'm done. I'll take questions.
Alder Brunette.
Mr. Gableman, thank you for, is this on?
No, there you go.
Thank you for testifying, speaking to the council. The onset of your comments, you had mentioned that a subpoena was served today, another subpoena?
Well, it would have been served on your mayor and a person most knowledgeable in the mayor's office. So if it wasn't served today, you can expect it shortly.
I haven't received anything.
And I'm not here for that. I
No, I
happen
know.
to be in town for other meetings, and I heard you were meeting, and so I thought I'd come and introduce myself.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That was my only question that was news to me.
Sure. And mirror images of the subpoenas that either were or are soon to be served on you, Mr. Mayor, and the person most knowledgeable in your office, the mirror images were served on the other 4 cities, the other mayors and their offices who accepted the vast lion's share of the CTCL assistance.
Appreciate the heads up. Any other questions for our guest? Alder Scannell.
Sorry.
Someone just got it on the 3rd floor.
Sorry, yeah, and they deserved it.
All right.
Just a question in that, with your investigation, why are you limiting your investigation to just the 5 largest contributors? Is not the small contributors just as guilty as the large if something was wrong?
Well, as I mentioned, we just established the office 35 days ago. And so in any investigation, as your chief of police can tell you, priorities must be assigned. And someone asked me, a knowledgeable observer asked me not too long ago, well, with all the information that's public, what do you hope to find out with your subpoenas? And my answer to that person is the same as I answer to you. By definition, I do not know. And when I get results from the subpoenas, I will be in a much better place to be able to determine the most appropriate course of action to see to that investigation.
Thank you.
And just a point of clarification, I believe I said it was inappropriate to discuss openly in public with your lawyer, not against your
Are we
opponent.
not in a public forum?
We are in a public forum, and it is inappropriate to discuss in public confidential information, in public, not
you
against
said-
your opponent. Thank you, that's all.
Okay.
Our memories differ.
Thanks, Alder. Other questions for Mr. Gableman? Mr. Galvin, Alder Galvin.
Thank you. Justice Gableman, and I just want to make sure I heard you right. Did you say something or allude to something about that laws were violated during the election?
Information has been received that could be interpreted that way.
Okay.
But further investigation will be warranted.
Okay. Should you find out through your investigation that laws were violated, what then?
Well, okay, that's a good question. All of the questions have been good. The thing that I am authorized to do as a product of this investigation is to prepare a report and submit it back to the Assembly. And although everything's subject to change, my working plan is to have a report that contains 4 sections. And that is to explain to everybody what should have taken place, what should have happened during the administration of the November 2020 election. Elections laws, contrary to a lot of criminal statutes, are not intuitive. I mean, intuitively, most of us know that we shouldn't intentionally harm other people or intentionally harm other people's property. But there's nothing about elections laws that are intuitive, and so consequently, the vast majority of American citizens have no idea how elections are supposed to be administered. There's an old joke in politics, and perhaps some of you have heard it, which is a campaign is no time to educate the public. Well, I'm not campaigning for anything, nor will I be. And this is the time to educate the public. And I started out as a teacher in Milwaukee Public Schools. I was a history teacher at Washington High School. I had a lot more hair back then, my friend. But my point is, so the first section, what should have happened? What are the procedures supposed to be? Section 2, what should have, or what did in fact happen? How did things actually play out? And I've got 3 broad areas of inquiry that I've already publicly discussed, which is the Wisconsin Election Commission guidance documents that were issued in the run-up. There were a series of them issued to the local clerks. And why that's significant is because the Constitution grants to the legislature of each state the responsibility and the authority for administering statewide elections. And here in this state, the legislature delegated it to the 1,852 local municipal clerks, along with the 72 county clerks. Most people don't understand the interplay between Wisconsin Election Commission, WEC, most people call it WEC, that has taken on a guidance role, which in effect, a lot of evidence seems to indicate, a lot of written published material seems to indicate that the clerks take that as mandatory. So those guidance documents then become very relevant to a determination of how exactly the election was actually run. The second area of inquiry is the CTCL and any other private groups that participated substantially in the administration of public elections. I think rightfully so, people have a lot of questions. Just as they don't know what happens to their paper ballot once it's put into the machine. I know that last November when I put my ballot into the little Lutheran church that's my polling place, like most of my fellow citizens, I just sort of hope for the best. And one of the things that motivates me on this, and I think this is important for all of us to keep in mind, 2 days before the November 3rd election, on November 1, the Marist polling organization, which is pretty reputable, nonpartisan polling, took a nationwide poll of all registered voters in the country, and 2/3 of the respondents said that they had either a doubt or a high degree of doubt that whether their ballot will actually count. I don't see a long future for a country where 2/3, that purportedly is a democracy, where 2/3 of our citizens don't have faith and confidence that their votes count. And so the voting machines become an important area of inquiry. If I would love nothing more than to do a rigorous report and all of the looking and studying, and then be able to turn to my fellow citizens and say, I looked into it to the best of my ability, and here's all of my supporting documentation, here's 2,000 pages or whatever it turns out to be. You can make up your own mind by looking through it, but I think everything went fine. That would be a great report to write, and I would be proud, very proud, just as proud as I have been. I've worked in courthouses of one type or another for 30 years. I know a lot of local clerks, and I believe that 99% are committed to doing, and actually, in fact, do an excellent job under often challenging circumstances.
All right, Alder Brunette.
And then the next part of the report is the difference between what should have happened and what did happen and why it matters. And then the fourth would be any kind of recommendations for future adjustments or changes in the law to meet any of the challenges that were demonstrated in the November election. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Brunette for a second time.
Mr. Gableman, I mean no offense when I ask these questions, but things I've heard in the community, a bit of a stickler for details, and one thing that I found strange was the subpoena had some errors. The subpoenas that were sent, things like grammar, not grammar, but our clerk's name was spelled wrong. Can you explain how that happened? Just an oversight?
Sure, I can explain. It's called the human condition, Alder. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, nobody in this room is perfect. We've only had one perfect man in this world, and look what we did to him. So I think we made, I think that very same day, that relatively minor Scrivener's error was remedied. Okay.
Please know I mean no disrespect, it's just what I've heard, you know, in the
I
community.
didn't take any
Okay.
You'd really have to say something a lot worse than that to
I will
get
not.
into my offense. Believe me.
Second of all,
20 years in elected politics has given me a thick skin.
yeah, I'm not quite there, but I'm developing a thick skin myself. Who is funding this effort of the Wisconsin State Legislature to allow your office of special counsel to do this sort of work?
The people of Wisconsin, I was granted a budget on August 30 of $675,000. Who's going to pay for your lawyers that you just hired?
Well, I wish I could answer that, but that was my question as far as.
You can't get into it, or you don't want to get into it?
I want to, but I'm going to bite my tongue right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Steuer and then Alder Weary.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gableman, thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Is it reasonable to, with the request that you have, for, gathering data on that there's enough time frame for cities like Green Bay and others to be able to do it?
That's an excellent question.
Okay.
Prior to this meeting commencing, your city attorney, a young woman sitting in the back, she introduced herself to me and said she had questions. She wanted to get my contact information. Our phone number is on the front page of the cover letter over the subpoena, and will be on the front page of the subpoenas to be soon served. But typically what happens in both a subpoena ducis tecum, which is a subpoena for the production of documents, as well as a subpoena for deposition, you have to put, the law requires you to, the proponent of it, the requester, to put a date and a time and a location. But in the overwhelming majority of cases, the parties work together, just as I hope to work together with your city attorney, to work out a time and a place and a date that is mutually convenient. And I suspect that's why the clerk of Madison reached out to me today. And I'll soon be working with him, for that very reason that served as the basis of your question.
Like I said, I just hope it's a reasonable amount of time that we can do it. So, thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Justice Gableman, for being here today. Timetable. Obviously, there's some important spring elections coming up. There's a very important fall election next year. It would seem to me, and perhaps yourself and everyone here, that the more cooperation there is amongst everyone, that the faster your report will be completed and any potential changes can be enacted. Do you have a set in stone or a deadline, or what's your?
When this whole process became known to me, which was the last couple of days of June, the tentative date that I believe the Speaker of the Assembly, Representative Voss, made public was the end of October 31. And now, having just authorized the creation of the office over which I'm privileged to lead, as well as funded us 34 or 35 days ago, I believe that the October 31 deadline is unrealistic. I don't want to drag this out any longer than it has to. As the premise of your question, I believe, correctly summarizes, the whole process will be made much more efficient if, setting aside whatever perceived differences we might have, we can work together to find out what happened. So yes, sir, is the short answer.
Thank you. Alder Scannell for a second time.
Just one question. And thanks for being here. I appreciate that.
It's my great pleasure.
You said that there was information to indicate that there had been some inappropriate action taken by district. Is that public information or is that private information?
Oh, yes. I mean, please, look at controversies. If you have I see you have a laptop there.
Yep.
The internet, I suppose you have.
Yep.
If you look at issues concerning the Wisconsin election, a plethora of issues will come up, my friend.
Okay.
But my job is to find out which have merit and which don't. And someone asked me, another knowledgeable observer asked me not too long ago, what do I think happened? And the answer is 20 years as a prosecutor or a judge of one type or another, I have learned the essential requirement, which I learned, frankly, I saw it in action when I was privileged to be a law clerk for the Sixth Circuit Court judges right across the street. You must, a good judge, a good prosecutor, a good judge, a good state Supreme Court justice, never makes up his or her mind until all parties, all sides have been heard from.
So in that plethora of information, you believe there is some in there that is valid? You have...
I'll find out. We'll find out, and I will share that with you.
So, but as of right now, then, you don't know if there is?
I think there are indications that there may be, which is why the legislature has authorized this investigation.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. What indications? Because from what I can see, all there is a plethora of accusations, but I see no evidence supporting those. So,
all right. No, I'm happy to answer your question.
Oh.
You got a few hours?
Not a few hours, but
I've indicated.
the skinny.
Pardon me.
Give me the skinny.
Look at me. Do I look like I could give anyone the skinny, Alder? There are three broad areas of inquiry. There have been a lot of public concerns raised about the guidance that had been issued by the Wisconsin Election Commission. That's WEC. There's been a lot of concerns raised about influence of private organizations such as Center for Tech and Civic Life participating directly in the administration of public elections. Finally, there is great concern by many citizens over the reliability, the accurate nature of the voting machines. As I mentioned at the very beginning, I believe that in a democracy, the appearance of fairness and accountability and transparency is just as important as the fact of it. So I would love, Alder, in further response to your question, I would love to come back and say I've looked at all these issues. I have determined that there were no problems. Or if there were some challenges or things did not go precisely right, let's look forward and remedy them for future elections.
I expect the former. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any final questions, Alder Lefebvre?
Yes, Mr. Gableman, you brought up Mr. Zuckerman and his Center for Life, that they gave money to all kinds of communities in Wisconsin. Would you be investigating our elections if it was Alec who gave all kinds of money to all these communities in Wisconsin?
That's a wonderful question. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. The answer is, of course I would, and let me tell you why. None of us in this room need a crystal ball to see where this goes. If this is the way the people of Wisconsin want to have the administration of their elections, if what people are concerned about actually in fact occurred, I promise you, although this time perhaps your favored candidate was the beneficiary, next time no such guarantees, because you know why? I don't know anything. I presided over a case with Abbott Labs, and I upheld the imposition of a $10 million fine on Abbott Labs. It's a case called State of Wisconsin versus Abbott Labs. I don't know anything about their political leanings or who they would want to have as president or any other partisan candidate for public office. But I do know that the people of this state have a right to expect that their public elections will be administered in a way that is not influenced by partisanship one way or the other. And that is why my answer to your question is of course.
I just want to bring up one thing too. I used to be a SRD, Special Register Deputy.
I'm sorry,
And,
what?
An SRD, Special Deputy Register. I could register, I went through the state process where I could register anybody in the state to vote. And I would go out into the community, different venues, and ask people, are you registered? Because I believe in people being registered to vote. And you know what?
As do I.
And you know what the response is? I found people take this election serious. People, I didn't even have to ask them, are you legal? They would tell me, oh no, I'm not legal. I can't vote. They would tell me, I can't vote because I haven't gone through my probation yet. I didn't ask. They would tell me right away. This is something I find that people, they don't lie about it. And our elected officials, they don't lie about it. They take this serious, as I do. I think voting is the most important thing that we can do in this country. And so, I'm sorry, I just
didn't
feel
hear
that this
last-
is all
You think that voting in this country is the most important what?
thing that we can do. This is, everybody, I think, personally, I think people should be registered to vote at birth, so that when they turn 18, they can vote.
Because it's the basis of our democracy.
Yes, it is. It's so
And
important.
which is fundamental
Right.
to our freedoms.
Right. So I believe that we did what we do. We did it.
Well, you and
That's all I'm going to say right now. So.
You and I, well, that's fine. You and I agree on a lot. I too think that free and fair and open and honest and transparent elections for which those who administer them are accountable is the hallmark of a democracy, because it is the foundation, the hard-won, the hard-fought, and the hard-won foundation of all of our other freedoms. I agree.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Gableman.
thanks.
Any others who would like to speak? And just a reminder, we try to keep it to 3 minutes. If you could just state your name and address for us.
I'll be very brief. Janet Angus, 1403 Shirley Street, Green Bay, Wisconsin. I was really disappointed that you went into closed session to discuss this issue tonight. I feel that there's no transparency with this council anymore. When you discuss some really very important issues, you go into closed session. And I think this was an important issue tonight. I think it should have been held in open session, and I'd like to know, under Wisconsin statute 19.851, it contains 11 exceptions to the open session rules. I would like to know what exception existed. There's no case pending right now. There's no litigation. So, and I would have liked to have heard the debate regarding these issues tonight. And I think by going into closed session, you prevent citizens who are interested in what's going on in our democracy in our city from really understanding what you're doing. I feel like you're lying to me. There's no transparency. So I have the following questions. I'd like to know who's going to pay for this law firm to quash the subpoena, what you're going to do. I would like to know where the money's coming from for the law firm. I'd like to know who the Law Forward is and who's part of Law Forward. Is it a left progressive firm, or is it a nonpartisan firm that's going to be handling this for our nonpartisan city government that we're supposed to have? I would also like to know who is States United. I just looked them up on my phone, and it seems like they're a firm from DC. I don't know what a firm out of Washington, DC, why would they come here? Why are they interested in Green Bay, Wisconsin? What's the intent? And how much are we paying them? DC law firms are expensive. And then finally, Stafford, I think it's Rosen something from Madison, I think that was mentioned. I think they're known for being a very left progressive democratic firm. And I'd like to know what went into making that decision that they're going to be handling a case for the city of Green Bay where my tax dollars are going to go to pay for it. And if my tax dollars are not paying for the representation, why is that? Why? Is it going to be another donation from a group like the Center for Tech and Civic Life that's going to come into my little town where I've grown up and take over? I just don't think that that's responsible. So I'd like to know the cost involved. I'd like to know if they're nonpartisan. I'd like to know what the costs are for the taxpayers. And I just have a lot of questions. And I think if you start having these matters debated in open session, as opposed to going into that back room there and talking for an hour and then allowing people like me 3 minutes to talk after waiting an hour, I think that you need to have these discussions and these debates in an open forum so that we all, as a community, can understand how you as alders are making decisions. Because hiding things and not being transparent is not a way to govern Green Bay, Wisconsin. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, ma'am. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor made by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Scannell. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is closed. We have a motion on the floor stated by Alder Dorf that was seconded by Alder Scannell. Additional comments on that? Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Being adequately broad, and I'm sure the attorney will step in if I stray. A generic council closed session about legal issues. Typical discussion would be what's the issue, if we want to address it or we need to, do we go with our internal legal team? Do we hire an external team to do that? Cost or no cost, we discuss that. And then direction given to whichever legal team or lack of direction. The legal team that was chosen, I disagree with, and I will be voting no on that. The short amount of time that we had to look into it, produced, there's plenty online that you can just research it yourself, and I printed off, a document kind of advising county and municipal elected officials of how they would proceed with this. And it's 8 points about really how to delay or obstruct or get around cooperating. And that's, I feel, what we need to do here is cooperate. And my disagreement then would be, of course, who was chosen and the direction or lack of direction given. My hope and expectation is that we fully and expeditiously cooperate and not simply fight, obstruct, and delay. Thank you.
Order, Your Honor. That was dealt with in closed session.
Really? Do you need to disrupt me every single time I speak,
was
Randy?
dealt with in closed
Good
session.
God, Randy, can you
Alder
just
Scannell.
for once keep your mouth quiet?
Alder Weary.
I'm raising a point of order. I have that right.
You do, but you always do that.
Well, when I
Every
think you're
single
wrong.
time.
Alder Scannell, what is your point of order?
My point of order is this was dealt with in closed session, and by bringing it up, we can't discuss it. And that the idea left behind is that we can't discuss it. We can't explain why that information is misleading.
That's all you got? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Alders. Any other additional comments?
They can't hear us, Veronica can't hear again.
I don't know why that might be. It was, yeah. Alder Brunette.
Thank you, Mayor. I am going to vote no, mainly, almost entirely, because we discussed this in closed session. I shared my thoughts there, have a number of concerns. I believe transparency is of the utmost importance. It's the American way. We have an open government for a reason. I feel like a lot of times we make these decisions and shield the public from the way we reason through these. And due to the objections I had posed in closed session, the fact that I can't even mention those reasons to my constituents, those who I report to, those who I'm accountable to, those who have the privilege or opportunity to vote for or against me, I think is a real affront to democracy. We're talking about safeguarding democracy, safe and fair elections, but yet how we reason through and deliberate on our defense when we're accused, or, you know, the perception is that we did something wrong, that we require a subpoena to turn over records to an independent counsel of the state legislature. The fact that we could not deliberate on that in open session for the public to hear, I think is really disappointing for this council to continually make these decisions. So I'm going to be voting against it. One point of clarification for Attorney Chavez. I don't want to be that guy, but I need to ask the question. We were just notified that our mayor may be served with a subpoena tomorrow. If this comes to a close tie, would it be appropriate for the mayor to vote one way or the other?
Yes, because even though it's a subpoena served on the mayor doesn't lose his right to vote, and more importantly, it's really a subpoena served on the city. And it would really be like if the subpoena was served on one of you, you're still entitled to participate in it unless you have a personal interest. And I have seen one of the subpoenas that was issued for the other ones. It's specifically about the office, related to everything that's related to the office, the position as well.
So we knew about the subpoena to Ms. Jeffries, but are you saying that you were aware of the subpoena, a second subpoena?
I was aware that a subpoena was served on a different municipality for what the justice had indicated earlier.
Okay.
I have not seen one served on the city
Okay.
for the mayor. I have not only seen any additional ones on the city yet.
Legal opinion, due to the pending nature of we're going to receive a subpoena, according to Justice Gableman, would it serve this government, this council, to delay the decision and call a special meeting once you receive that subpoena?
No.
Okay. That's your legal professional opinion? Okay, thank you. No other comments or questions?
Thanks, Alder.
Mayor.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to move forward with retaining those legal entities. Alder Weary, go ahead.
I apologize, I was just asking our attorney if this is something I can share. And I don't know if it was mentioned in the motion, but it is a pro bono that the services are being offered for free. So I think that was an important fact that was obviously discussed in closed session, because when you're dealing with a nonprofit, obviously you want to know who the donors are. And needless to say, your mind can go where it will there, but that is part of the discussion. Thanks.
Thanks, Alder. So with that, we have the motion and the second. We will use the board on the vote.
Thank you all.
Clerk Jeffries, you are, I think, cutting out.
Oh, am I?
That's better.
Voting. Terrible. They're voting. I'll text you.
Alder Dorf.
The motion was this: the vote was taken in closed session to retain Law Forward in partnership with States United and Stafford Rosenbaum. We will now confirm the vote in open session. I move that we confirm this vote in open session.
Thanks, Alder.
Alders Vanderleest, Stoyer, Scannell, and LaFave. Can you please vote?
Sounds like it's not coming up yet. Just give it a moment. Alders, you seeing the votes? No?
We keep getting unstable.
Okay. Alder Vanderleest votes no.
Aye.
Alder Scannell votes aye. Alder LaFave votes aye.
Okay.
And that motion succeeds 7-5. So we are on to Committee of the Whole, item 2, consideration with possible action of 4 aldermanic district and ward maps as a result of the 2020 census. Alder Dorf.
Thank you. I think I would like to ask council if we could deal with the question of whether or not we're going to have 12 alders, 13 alders, or 15 alders before we start looking at maps. So therefore, we would not have to be talking about maps that we're not going to deal with. And I guess to lead it off, I will make a motion that we keep 12 alders and 12 aldermanor districts. Thank you.
Motion has been made to move forward with a map including 12 aldermanic districts. That was made by Alder Dorf and seconded by Alder Stoyer. Discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Alder Stoyer.
Well, we all got the maps, and first of all, I'd like to thank Clerk Jeffries and as well as IT Director Ronick for putting these together in a short period of time. Did a very good job. I agree that we do 12. I think it's important that we keep it an even number so that the mayor is involved, you know, if it's a 6-6 tie. But I would opt for A if we're going to be talking about an option.
I think we're
We're going to do that
yeah.
later?
We'll just dispense with the 12 or a different number, and
All
then
right.
we'll move along
Okay.
to that question.
That'll be
But
fine. I'm
appreciate,
done. Thanks.
Appreciate those comments. Alder Scannell and then Alder Brunette.
Yes, I am also in support of 12 aldermanic districts. I think the idea of 13 and 15 is, I wish we'd have taken them up sooner. I think we're pressed too soon now to really have a full discussion on that. I think there's a possibility there. I don't know if I would have supported it, but I think now it's just too late because there are too many odds and ends that we would need to work out if we're going to have 13 or 15 alders. What are their duties? How are we splitting up our committees? There's too many factors to be taken into account that it's just too late in the day to be doing. So I think we kind of dropped the ball on this. If we were really going to add more alders, we should have looked at it sooner. So I don't know if I'd have supported it, but certainly it's too late in the day now. So I support 12. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Brunette.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm in favor of 12. I do like the idea of 13, 15, 16 even. I agree with Alder Scannell. I think we should have made this, if that was what was the serious consideration, we should have discussed it several months ago so that we could get the proper feedback from the public hearings. We could have noticed it. I doubt many people are following it at this stage of the game. One thing I want to dispel, though, this idea that by going to more alders that you're growing government. That's not true. When you grow your representation, you don't grow your government. You grow the number of people serving on behalf of the people. When you grow government, you grow the administration or the bureaucracy. The more people here representing the public, the least number of people that each alder serves, the better, as far as my opinion, as far as I go. And the more alders who do serve, can represent greater numbers of communities and greater numbers of perspectives than perhaps the 12 of us could, if the 12 of us will remain here after the next election. So, like the idea, COVID certainly complicated things. Of course, we didn't know what the county was going to do, so that delayed us a little bit, but they approved their maps, and that was controversial near the end. So I'm in favor of 12. Obviously, I prefer one of the maps over the other of the 12, but I'm in support of 12 at this point. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I brought this forward actually months ago. I think it was spring, perhaps early summer. And at that time, council decided, why don't we wait until we do the maps? So we had the chance to do that discussion. And I don't want to rehash that because I really do think, the city of Green Bay, we used to have 24 alder people and we had a much smaller city. So each alder person really could know the nitty-gritty of their neighborhood. They were really a neighborhood alderman. They knew what was going on. The more we grow, the bigger our job's going to get. And at some point, there's going to be a tipping point. This either becomes a full-time job, which I think is the wrong way to go, or we add some more older people so that it becomes a manageable job, so that a person who has a job, you know, can also do this. So maybe it plants a seed. I can see the die is cast that this will be 12, and that's fine. But I hope this plants a seed that really at some point we should have some smaller districts and better representation. So I'm fine with 12 because that's the way it's going to go. But I really want everybody to think hard about that, because the bigger the district, the more money can influence it, because you can't get to every door. But postcards and flyers and things of that nature that money can influence can, and we don't want that. Thanks.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Steuer?
Yeah, one more comment. You know, the population grew about 2,500, I think, since the last census, so very slow, steady growth. So, you know, if you divide it by 12, you might get 250 folks added to your district. Not a tremendous amount, but I understand where all the worry's coming from, that there will come a time where there is a tipping point and we have to really look at it. I don't think we're quite there yet, but, you know, 9,000, we'll be representing each about 9,000 people, and that's a nice size. It's a challenge, so, but I think for now, this will be fine.
Thanks, Alder. Any other Alder Lefebvre?
Yeah, this is my second term, so, yeah, I mean, you have to get out there. There's a lot to cover in your district. I think they are a little big, but 12, I think, is workable. And I don't think we have to worry about, the city is constrained. We can't grow that much. We have our communities around us that are growing outside of Green Bay, not Green Bay as much. They grew by, what was it, 10,000 or more? You know, so the growth is outside of us. So I think, yeah, the 12, I think, is fine.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of sticking with 12 aldermanic districts will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And then we're on to this question of 12A or 12B. So I think it's appropriate just to make a motion and we'll go from there. Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd make a motion to adopt 12A.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made to adopt 12A. That was seconded. Alder Scannell. Just gotta use real kid gloves with those mics, I guess.
Yeah. Where do I start? Okay. I've studied these maps and studied these maps and studied these maps, and I understand how they were made, and I appreciate how they were made, and I think that they're good maps. But that said, I hate it. I hate every one of these maps. I hate them, 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 I hate them. Take that to the nth degree. My district is nothing like it is now. It is radically changed. Now, this isn't about me, so I understand, you know, it took me a while, it threw me for a little bit of loop. I expected changes in my district. I expected my district to have grown considerably since the last census, but I thought it'd be more on the edges instead of in the center. And put a lot of time in to a lot of areas that are no longer going to be representing. But I think I understand why. It makes sense. But I would like to propose, and I don't know if it's too late to have one more map drawn for our next meeting that we could compete with A in this. And I'm not sure it's a good idea, but I want to pitch it. I think it makes sense to, as far as making it wholesome. You got that whole, both sides of the river, the downtown, and that, there's a great logic there, and the way the lines are drawn, I follow the East River and stuff, so that there are borders there. It makes sense. But if one looks at the environment of that geography, the downtown, I can tell you, that's a lot of work. There's a lot of businesses, there's a lot of residents, all condensed very much on top of each other, on old infrastructure. It's a lot of work. I've been retired, I've been able to dive into it. I'm concerned that going forward, the Alder that has, I don't know what that district 9 now, that would be all the downtown, I'm afraid they're gonna get burnt out. I'm afraid we're gonna be putting in Alder, setting up an Alder because this is a part-time job, and most alders aren't retired. Most alders have jobs and families, and it's a lot. And I'm wondering if it might not be possible to have a map drawn that divides our downtown into two districts, which is what I kind of was anticipating, hopefully, but I can understand why they didn't. There's a good logic there, and I'm not sure that it's wrong, or certainly it's right in many ways, but when you consider the work involved for that geographic location, the environment of it, I'm not sure it's the best way to go. I'm just not sure. So I'm wondering if it's possible to have one more map drawn. I don't know what it would do to the domino effect on the other districts, but if it's possible to have one more map drawn where we would divide our downtown into two districts.
Okay, thanks, Alder. Maybe we'll just have Director Hronik or Clerk Jeffries
Yeah.
respond to sort of the rationale and what, you know, the impact of a change like this could be.
Sure. Thank you, Your Honor. And Director Ronick, who really did the lion's share of the actual redistricting work, I did actually have an opportunity to work with that program. I just wanted to, you know, really first emphasize very strongly, I understand Alder Scannell's concerns. I had some conversation with Deputy Director Renier Wig about dividing some neighborhood associations. Here is where our constraints lie. Our constraints lie in where the county put their supervisory districts. And the map that we were given, which for the county was E2, was specifically the map that I said that I did not want, that it would not be good for the city because of what I call the sliver on the river. And that is basically that eastern portion of part of downtown and Astor Park, which that sliver comprises 1,200 people. We can't, it would be very difficult for us to draw the line so that the city is bisected by the river, and then keeping that, we have to keep that as a ward, its own ward, because wards crossing the river, that's possible, it's legal, I don't think it's prudent. So that's part of the logic behind the way that it was drawn. In fact, as you discovered in your review, many of the districts changed, partially because we grew a little bit, so that, you know, increased the number of alders representation to about 8950. But also, I'll just emphasize again, where the county put their supervisory district lines really dictates where we put our wards, and therefore where we put our aldermanic districts. I want you to know that options A and options B have a very small deviation. So when we're looking at the aldermanic districts, they're all pretty much the same size, within about 3%, which is what we're supposed to be going for. I also wanted to make you aware that there were some other districts that had some shapes that made it difficult for us. The border of districts 2 and 3, and then there was a square in District 8 that also made it difficult for us to draw these in a much more compact, much more, you know, sort of, yeah, more compact way. Now, I will also say that we did fix District 5 because that was very, the old term is, the new term is gerrymander. So basically, something that looks like a salamander named after a governor from 1812 in Massachusetts. So we want to make sure that our districts don't look like an animal, rather they look more like a shape that you learned about in kindergarten. So we really aimed for that, and I think that we, to the best of our ability, succeeded. One other thing before Director Ronick tells you more specifically about the maps, I just want to talk about the process a little bit. Alder Weary had asked about this, and I think it's important to kind of go over that. So originally I had said that we would do these maps, we could decide which one tonight and have 2 readings, one in a special meeting next week, one in the second reading for the 19th. Obviously, it is available to you to have us go back to the drawing board and draw another one map, because we are giving one map to the county There are some consequences if we don't, which if you'd like me to describe them, I could later. So you could actually have a first and final reading. My concern, of course, is public input and the public's ability to understand where those lines are going to be. So that is fairly much what I had to say is by way of introduction of the maps for tonight. And then, as I had said, that Director Ronick is going to talk to you more specifically about how the maps were drawn.
Great, thanks so much again for all the work, Clerk Jeffries, and the explanation there. Director Ronick, anything to add?
You cut out on me there.
Anything to add?
Would anybody like an explanation of how we put the maps together?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, first we started out with the population of the city, and then we just divided by the 12 districts, the 15 districts, or the 13 districts, and you can see the results per district. So all our districts are very evenly split based on population. You can see that the lows and the highs of where everybody is. As you can see in District 1, the average population is 8,950, and their population...
Director Ronick, sorry to interrupt, but I was just curious if either you or Clerk Jeffries might be able to share 12A, just so people at home could get a sense for what we're talking about.
Director Ronick will do that.
All right, sorry, excuse me. Sorry about that. Everybody can see this now?
Yep, we see the spreadsheet.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Do you need me to start over?
No, that's okay. And I was just wondering if you wanted to show the actual map at some point.
Yeah. And well, here are the charts. And so just so you can see that we evenly split many of the districts, all of the districts evenly, which is one of the criteria. And then as we drew the maps, the former, we have to follow the county's lines to create our wards. So we did that where we felt, we had to do that, which is the blue lines to draw our wards. So this is the split up of all our wards, and as you've seen, we have to follow all their district lines to create their wards, the county district lines to create our wards. So then we drew supervisory districts based on those. The major deviations from 2010 and 2020 are basically the 2010 District 5 was very odd-shaped, as she said, and we, during this redistricting, this used to be the area of District 5 pretty far south of the majority of it, and we swapped that with District 3 and District 2 to bring District 5 up to a more compact and contiguous district. Then the other major difference between the two years or 2 decades is the sliver on the river, which is 1,000, which is one single ward. Otherwise, we maintained, not really even on purpose, as much district in 2020 as in 2010. So that's pretty much how we drew our maps.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for that overview, and again for the work involved. We had a few alders that wanted to speak.
Question?
Alder Scannell.
Yeah, so for downtown on the east side, that's all one ward?
Yes, that's accurate. So where you see what is purple, thank you, Mike, what's purple and what's bounded by those black lines, that is one ward, indeed.
Well, then, it really doesn't make sense to break up a ward. I mean,
And we can't, we actually, you know, our minimum, and thank you for sort of pointing in that direction, Alder, the minimum number of people is 800 in a ward, and the maximum is 3,200 for a city our size. So, you know, 1,200 isn't you know, we would like wards that are more like 2,500. I personally would like, as the clerk, wards that are more like 2,500. That ward happens to be, you know, 1,200, pretty small. So, yeah, some challenges there.
Alder Scannell, anything else?
Yeah, I do have another question about, for District 7. On the west side, there's some lines that I thought were odd. Going down Columbia, Roy, come on. It, no, is, as I enlarge my map, and I'm wondering if it's a technological thing, is Roy Street the dividing line? Because when I enlarge the map, it looks like all of Roy, looks like the line is on the other side of Roy, that the whole of Roy is in District 7. Usually it's a street that divides. So,
Roy divides right here.
so it is divided? That is a
In
dividing
one
line?
block right here, yes, where my arrow is pointing.
Right, so down the middle. The east side of Roy is in one district, the west side is on another.
Yes, for one block only. And that is between Mather and Holzer.
And Alder, please be aware that we aren't looking at streets, we're looking at census blocks.
So that all of Roy, except for that one block, is in District 7.
Yeah, well, this one block is in District 7.
The rest of it's in 10.
The rest of it is in 10, yes, correct.
And like I said, Alder, that's because it seems odd looking at it on a map, but if you were to see the census blocks, it would make more sense. We can't divide a census block in half. Actually, the software doesn't permit us to do that.
And this is your former boundary, and
Right.
remember, the population has shifted east.
Right.
So this is logically that your former boundary would be one block east.
Right, and that's not the issue with me. It's just that I always thought dividing lines were down the middle of a street, and one side of the street was one district, one side was the other. But when I blow up the map to take a closer look at it, it looks like the line is it looks like all of Roy, east and west side, are in District 7.
You'll see the parcels right here. It's down the middle of Roy Street.
Okay, then it's just a technological thing with when that the lines are goofy like that.
Yep.
Okay. Then, there was a corner though that it seems, Columbia and Holzier. It looks like, when I zoomed in, again, I don't know if it's something with the technology, instead of going to the corner of Columbia and Holzier, it jumps off at an angle and slices off, so I don't go right to the corner, I go behind. Where is it? Yes. Okay, if you go down, or is it Roy and Holzier? Roy and Holzier, I'm sorry. You see how it makes that point. Instead of going straight to the corner, it makes a point. Okay, so then, all right, then it's just the okay.
Yeah.
It does, okay. Then it's just, when I zoom in, the lines go crazy.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. I just thought it was weird, and okay, appreciate that, thank you.
You bet. Alder Lefebvre?
I was just going to say, as a county supervisor also, I did not vote for the county map that was chosen. And unfortunately, we in the city, those who represent the county, we're outnumbered. And I thank the city they did a much better job of the populations into each district, because all the outlying areas are quite a bit bigger in population. from what they did on their maps. So, yeah, this is gonna be a hard decision. Well, not for me, I'm gonna say that my district, I know I lost some, I moved a little bit east and down a little bit. It doesn't matter, my district is fine. But I am going to ask to be able to abstain from this vote because I have a conflict of interest on this council.
Obviously, you
I have a
don't
relation.
have to
I have
state
a
it, but-
relation to one of the alders, and I find, yeah, because it makes a difference on these maps, how their district is drawn. Yes, you are.
Okay. Understood.
So,
Any
I'm
other
sorry.
comments? Alder Burnett.
Yeah, thank you. Mayor, I want to commend Director Ronick and Clerk Jeffries did an outstanding job on the maps. The way I look at it going in is that how can we make the maps as close to what currently exists? And it's a challenge because different parts of the city experience different population growth, and you have to confine the ward boundaries within what the county lines show. And so when I look at map A, I'll be honest, I didn't look at the lines too closely. I noticed a little bit of changes in mine, but across the districts, I'm not familiar with each of your districts. So I couldn't really see many noticeable changes. And I want to challenge the council, as much as it's hard to not to do, don't think of these districts as ours. You know, I think we have ownership of them in a way because we represent them, we know the people, we know the interests. But many of us probably won't be here in 6 to 8 or 10 years potentially. There are plenty of elections in between, so the maps really should reflect the character of neighborhoods. The population should be evenly. You respect to diversity of the different people within the districts, and I thought everyone did a wonderful job. The reason why I'm kind of conflicted on map B was that if you look at map A compared to what the current boundaries is, map B really only changes 2 districts. And from what I understand, looking at the map, it would be District 11 and District 8. So I know that they wanted 2 different maps for us to look at for the 12-person option, to the 12-district option. But it just seems like those are the only 2 districts with any changes other than very minor lines. So that's why I'm against it. I think if we're gonna do a change to the districts, we should probably, alter all districts a little bit. And I know we're confined based on the county lines and other criteria that Clerk Jeffries mentioned. So I'm in support of map A. If there's a magical way that they can redraw a map and we can quickly approve it, I'd be okay with that, but I think we're asking an awful lot of the staff without allowing us to get too closely involved in basically picking our voters. And so I don't know how we can accomplish major changes to the maps without feeling like we're picking our voters rather than our voters picking their representatives. So anyways, I commend our staff and each of you for staying out of this. From what I could tell, my conversations, you stayed out of this process, which is what we want, what the public should demand of all levels of government, and the city of Green Bay did just that. So it's I know we had a contentious issue later today, but it's a real positive for the city of Green Bay if we approve this process without any fighting and controversy. So thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Stevens? No. Alder Gerlach? And then Alder Dorf.
Tell me if I'm wrong. It looks to me on map B that districts 2, 3, and 5 have the same significant changes as they do on map A. So it's incorrect to say that there are only 2 districts that change. 2, 3, and 5 change rather dramatically on both the maps, I believe. Of course, I'm paying most attention to District 3, right? But I wonder if Director Bronick would like to explain a little bit about the difference, the different thinking in creating A versus B.
Yeah, good question, Director Hronick.
The major difference between A and B is in B, District 8 has 4 voting wards, and in map A, it has 5 wards. So what we did is we reduced a ward overall. That's the major difference. That is the only difference between the two maps. But A keeps a closer alignment with the current aldermanic boundaries.
Any follow-ups on that, Alder Gerlach?
No, I think that's good, thanks.
Okay. And just something to note, because I see the tab on there that says current alderman. I know, my understanding is that staff drew this map without taking that into account. Can you comment on that, Dr. Hronik?
I'm sorry, you broke up?
I said, my understanding is that staff did not take incumbency into account when drawing these maps. But, you know, you have that as a point of reference on the, on there with the current alderman tab. So I just wanted to know if you could speak to that.
We did not take any incumbency. I added this at a later date. Now, you know, I've been here at the city a long time. I kind of know where the districts are, but it's still hard for me to pick out all the you know, the slight variations in it. And you can see I missed one right here. You know, these used to be, this area used to be in Alder in District 8. Now they're in District 9. So you know, I don't know every nuance. In the back of my mind, I know a lot about the city, but I really didn't refer to it. I really kept it as compact. I don't think you can get any more compact, and the population equalizing in each district better than what we have here, right here.
Right. No, appreciate that. Additional comments or questions? Alder Weary? And, oh, no, Alder Dorf and then Alder Weary.
I was aware that there would be one less ward with option B, and that is one of the main reasons I'm supporting option B over option A. But another reason is, as Alder Gerlach referenced, almost every one of our districts, or of the districts, the Alder districts, were changed significantly. And I think that it's more equitable, option B is more equitable, that the changes are there for everyone in option B. And so that's another reason I'm supporting option B. It will cost less for the city to do elections with one less ward. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Weary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm the only person here on the council, perhaps, who was here during the last go-around after the census, and I will tell you this one is much better. Thank you, Director Ronick. You used the data to determine where to put the lines. Last time there was a lot of other things going on, and this is much better. I support A. Obviously, I think the district should stay, you know, similar to what they are. If you go to B, District 8 changes massively, which is what happened 10 years ago. Half the district just up and changed, and people have a right to kind of, you know, be familiar with what their district is and who the representative is, at least is one thing. And as far as the 5 wards, there's been 5 wards there for 8 years. You know, there's no extra expense to stay with A. Our cost to the city stays the same. And so that really, I would think if you go with B, you're purposely trying to attack a district or two. So I think we just stick with A. Thanks.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments on 12A? Alder Stoyer?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I had mentioned that I was in favor of A as well. I mean, all of us, you know, like I said, we won't be here years from now. We're making the maps for future alders. And I look at the map here too, and my district has changed physically as well, but, and there will be people that are constituents of mine that I've worked very well with that will no longer be there. That's part of the deal. You know, you accept that moving forward. But I agree with Alder Weary because he said it really was hodgepodge 10 years ago. Director Ronick and Clerk Jeffries used data this time. And I think, you know, we trust them for that. So option A for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any other comments? Otherwise, we do have a motion and a second on 12A. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
It appears the ayes have it.
Please support.
We absolutely can always use the board.
Yes, absolutely. Alders, you may vote.
Alder Stoyer votes aye.
Thank you. And then Alder LaFave, are you still abstaining?
Alder LaFave, oh, I think she hit
Okay,
abstain, but
yeah,
yes.
okay, awesome, thank you. And let me display those results. Just give me a moment.
And that is recommended for adoption 8-3-1. So Clerk Jeffries did allude to the process as she was explaining the map drawing, and so I just kind of wanted to throw it out to you all. We do have the opportunity to have a special meeting so that this ordinance will have 2 readings. We also could adopt it on a first and final reading at our next regularly scheduled council. So would love to get some input from you all on that. Alder Scannell.
I wouldn't mind a special meeting. I don't know if our constituents have really seen these maps. I think if we can give it a little more time, that would be better, in my opinion. Thank you.
Alder comments? Alder Schreier?
So if we have the special meeting, I mean, we voted on this now. Are you saying that there might be
So-
another alternative?
Yes, we need an ordinance.
Okay.
And so this is not an ordinance that's before you. So that's why it normally or customarily it has 2 readings.
All right.
We could do 1 reading, but that would take 2/3 vote. And then would give the public, one.
I'd opt for one meeting.
Any other thoughts on that?
Mayor?
Alder Johnson, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm okay with just the one meeting as well. I mean, it doesn't change the amount of time that the public has to dissect this. The meeting is when it is. So whether we schedule one more meeting beforehand to really just take action on this one item, or we can do it at the next one. And if for some reason we did not get 2/3 vote to suspend the rules to do both readings, I think then we could, schedule a meeting right after that one and still get it to the county on time. So I would prefer to go the route of efficiency, but still doesn't change the amount of time the public has to look at it.
Right. I think that's a good
Your
point.
Honor, if I may.
Yes, Clerk Jeffries.
Thank you so much. So we do need to get, I think that Alder Johnson is incorporating the time frame appropriately, but that means we would need to turn right around on the 20th and have another meeting if for some reason things go awry on the 19th, because I need to give the county their maps on the 21st. I actually have 5 days, but they would like them the 21st. And quite frankly, we're all in a time crunch, as you know, because of the pandemic having delayed the census results.
Just a point of order, Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, Alder.
Is there a posting requirement in terms of how far in advance you cancel a meeting? And the reason I'm asking that question is, can we post both dates in advance and then just cancel the one if it's not needed?
I believe that we can, I'll let the attorney confirm, but I believe that we can cancel that meeting the day before. So if we were to schedule a meeting on the 20th at 6 o'clock, we could cancel that meeting, at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock the day before, but I'll let the attorney confirm that.
Attorney Chavez?
There is no issue with cancellation of a meeting. The real issue is with advertising a meeting because of the agenda requirements. So as long as we have advertised a meeting and posted an agenda for 24 hours in advance, that's really the requirement that we have to comply with. As far as timing of the ordinance, so you're aware, it doesn't require two-thirds vote to approve the ordinance. It requires a 2/3 vote to suspend the rules to approve the ordinance.
Yeah, good point.
Right, and so that's what I was implying, and then really the question just is in terms of if we posted both meetings at once in case we don't achieve 2/3 vote, can it be posted in such a way that October 21st meeting is only hosted if necessary?
I don't see any issue with that. The only issue would be is if we have some notice requirements, like and by that I mean like public notice has to be published in a certain period of time. I'm not aware of any. Clerk Jeffries, are you aware of any requirements? My understanding is the public hearing requirement applied to the introduction of the maps themselves. But I'll let Clerk Jeffries discuss that.
Right, actually, thank you, Attorney Chavez. This is actually, my understanding is that this is a straight ordinance or even a resolution. So in terms of the public hearing like we would do for zoning ordinances, that does not apply here. That is my understanding. I actually did talk to someone in the LTS from some of my understanding. I believe that we would need to have a meeting on the 20th of the 21st because it's due to the county on the 20th. But let me just double check that notice requirement to make sure I'm not missing anything, and then I will email everyone if that is acceptable.
Great, and I misstated that date, so thanks for correcting that, Clerk Jeffries.
All right, any other comments on this process question? Okay, I think we'll plan to move forward with the regularly scheduled meeting and maybe incorporate Alder Johnson's suggestion of scheduling that additional meeting as kind of a backup if necessary. But we'll be in contact.
That sounds fine. And so it will be a first and final reading on the 19th.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, well, thanks again for all the work on that. Thanks to Alders for your input. On to resolutions, we just have one here tonight.
Motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt made by Alder Johnson. That was seconded by Alder Scannell. Any discussion? We will use the board.
And I'm sorry, Your Honor, who seconded that?
Alder Scannell.
Thank you. And here is your vote. You may vote, Alders. Thank you.
Alder Stoyer votes aye.
Thank you. And then Alder Lefebvre.
Alder Lefebvre is an aye as well.
Okay. Thank you. And I will display that.
And the resolution is adopted 12-0. On to ordinance's first reading.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules has been made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf. To suspend the rules and take up these items with one roll call vote. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended.
Motion to adopt.
This is a motion to advance. Motion to advance made by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Scannell. We're advancing these ordinances to a second and final reading. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those ordinances are advanced to a second and final reading. Any petitions and communications from Alders? Alder Stoyer.
Thank you, Ron. We've got two. This one will be the protection policy. For the city of Green Bay to work alongside the state of Wisconsin to implement red light cameras at certain streets and street intersections. Second one is to INS, is study effective ways to check for non-city residents when using city of Green Bay yardway sites with possible action.
Just on that first one, Alder, I'm sure you recall we did adopt a resolution urging passage. I was just curious if you had something else in mind.
All right, well, why don't I just hold off on that for now?
Okay.
I'll look at that, see if that's adequate or not.
Okay, sounds good. You bet. Any other questions or petitions or communications? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to refer.
Motion to refer those communications has been made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Lefebvre. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it, and that communication is referred. Adjournment. Motion to adjourn made by Alder Dorf, seconded by Alder Gerlach. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.